Hello everyone, and welcome to another Minecraft tutorial. We haven't done one of these in a while, and as you can see behind me, I've been messing with villagers quite a bit lately, so I would like to compile a video of everything that I've learned about villagers, from catching them, setting up a breeder, moving villagers, trading hall, zombification area, and all the things in between. There's a lot of things that we're going to go over, so hopefully this will help you guys, as Minecraft Bedrock villagers tend to be very, very finicky. Now with that said, the first little tip that I can give you when starting a project like this is, of course, patience. Tons and tons of patience when it comes to villagers. Now hopefully the things that we talk about in today's tutorial will help you guys in the future, make it a little bit easier when messing around with villagers. The next tip that we're going to go over has to do with a resource pack that is going to help us when trading with villagers. It was recommended to me to download it. I didn't do it, and I regret it. So you can type in vanilla tweaks for Bedrock in the old Google search bar and come down to the second website. I will try to link this in the description down below, but you click on this guy right here, and you'll come to this nice little page. Now, these banners right here tell you what is down below, so we have aesthetic changes here. We have terrain changes here. Lower sides of blocks, we have variation, we have peace and quiet. There's all kinds of neat things in here. Utilities, unobstructive. Some of these might not be too bad. Then we have the HUD, and we have the GUI. And this is what you're looking for, is the GUI. And you're looking for this thing right here called the Trader Helper, or Trading Helper. Click on this, it will highlight to a gray, and then click download over here. Doesn't take very long to download this, but once this is downloaded, we can close out the internet. We can come over here to our file, and you can come in here into your downloads a file, and this file right here, you can right click on it and cut it. Now I'm going to show you guys how to get to your actual folder for Bedrock Edition so that we can place this in the resource pack or in the resource folder and make it easier to get to that folder later on. So you're going to want to come down to this right here, my PC, this PC, and click on your hard drive. You're then going to need to scroll down to users. You're going to go to your username here. And then inside this folder here, you're going to be looking for this right here, the app data. If you don't have the app data folder, you need to come into view. You need to come over here to hidden items and check this box. Once you do that, you should be able to come into app data, local, scroll all the way down here to packages. Then you're going to need to find a folder in here, and you're looking at the second dot after Microsoft that says Minecraft, UWP. That's this guy right here. Click on that. Again, you're going to come to local, games, and there it is. Once you're at this point, I recommend coming over here, right-clicking, send to, desktop, create a shortcut. It will make it a lot easier to find this folder so you're not having to go through each one of these steps every time. But once in here, you can come into development resource packs or resource packs. It doesn't matter. I actually already have the pack here. But if you come into resource packs, you simply right-click and paste. I also recommend that you take this and rename it, because these numbers will be up there and it will be kind of a pain. So if you're going to download other things from the Vanilla Tweaks website, I recommend changing that. After that's all said and done, you can simply come into Minecraft. You're going to want to go into settings. You're going to want to scroll down to the global resources, and you're going to want to look in my packs. Now, right now I have the pack actually updated, and it doesn't look like it updated the name. But But as I said, it will be right here. You're going to want to activate it. Now, I did find out that having this at the top of the list of packs actually affects to where it doesn't work, and nor does my resource pack, or my texture pack. So we move this down, and everything's good to go. After that, you hit the little back arrow, and this should go to a loading resource page. We didn't really change ours, and now we have the pack installed. So before we jump in the server to play, let's turn the pack off. And let's load up a world. Now, right now we have a couple of villagers and stuff set over here. We are going to need some of this so that we can set the profession. And as you can see, right now, all we can see is this level 1 novice trade until we trade with this guy to unlock level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. Now with the pack loaded up and the same villager that had the Lure 3 trade, we can actually see that he has an Unbreaking 3 trade as his next book, Ink Sac and Glass trade, so on and so forth, and this makes it really, really nice. You want to roll the trades of this guy, which of course this thing is going to be a little bit finicky. There he goes. Nope. There we go. Again, these guys are very, very finicky. But now we can see it has an Unbreaking 3 book here. It has a Lantern trade. It has a Smite 2 and a Lure 3. This is the same villager. But that is all the things, or a pack that makes rolling trades with these guys so much easier. Now that we have the resource pack all installed and ready to go, the next thing is catching villagers. If you're going to set up a large trading hall, you're going to need to set up a breeder, and most of the time you're not going to deal with ones or twos of villagers. You're going to deal with multiple, and all you need for a breeder is 2 villagers. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can go find a village, you can grab these guys up, you can move them into a holding cell temporarily, and a couple of different ways to move them. Boats, minecarts, bucket of water. I highly recommend if you can get them in a minecart, it's the best way, but minecarts you can't just place down, whereas boats you can. So if you got to get them into here first, so be it. So you could do that. Inside the village, if you were going to set up a villager breeder, you would need to break all of the profession blocks or the job blocks, workstations, that's what they're called, as well as all of the beds. And then the other villagers that are inside the village, you can save them and move them towards a trading hall or send them to Emerald Island. One thing to watch out for is these guys right here, the green coat nitwits. These cannot be used in breeders. Obviously, they can't be used in a trading hall either. They cannot have a profession. They do not work. They do not do anything. But they look cool, right? The other way that you can do it as well is catch yourself a couple of zombie villagers, and this is the way that I did it on the Truly Bedrock server. Catch a couple of zombie villagers. You do have to make sure that you name tag them if you are going to go this route, as they will despawn. But the same thing, you can catch these guys in boats. You can move them to wherever you want, cure them, and then move them into a breeder. Again, minecarts work really well. But the other thing to note with zombies is if they are sat in a boat, you are going to want to build some kind of roof over the top of the boat to keep these guys from burning. Yes. So that's it with catching villagers. Again, a bucket of water is your friend. I would recommend having a few blocks on you as well, such as netherrack, so that you can kind of block these guys in. Or you can build yourself a little temporary thing to where you can place water pushing into a corner so that they go into that corner. And once you have your villagers caught, it is now time to set up a villager breeder. So the first thing to note when setting up a villager breeder is if you're going to leave your breeder in your world and then set up a trading hall, you want to have 100 blocks between them. I think the number is actually 96, but 100 is a nice even number, and it's also easy to go, okay, I'm at negative 325 here, and I'm at negative 425 here. And then you build your breeder behind that just a little bit. Of course, you're going to have to send villagers over to where your trading hall is going to be, but we will get into that momentarily. Now, the things that you are going to need to build the breeder. You're going to need 25 glass blocks, or any block. I prefer using glass because you can see through it. 6 trapdoors, 2 profession blocks, and then of course you're going to need 2 villagers. Now, getting the villagers inside your breeder are going to require a few blocks, some minecarts, rails, maybe some water, and temporary blocks. The other thing that your breeder is going to need is going to be beds. You're going to need 1 bed per villager in this breeder. So you're going to need 2 beds automatically for the 2 villagers inside the breeder, and then if you want 20 villagers after that, you need 20 more beds. If you breed 10 villagers in this breeder and you send them the 100 blocks over towards the trading hall, then you don't need any more than 10 beds, if that makes sense. So villagers require 1 bed per, unless you send them 100 blocks away, then you can keep breeding and breeding and breeding. But it is probably easier to set down a bunch of beds and get all of the villagers that you want, get them into a tube, and then let them grow up, because they're going to be needing to be adults to trade with them, set a profession, those kinds of things. A couple of things that I forgot in this chest: when moving villagers, you might want a piece of soul sand or a couple to build a tube up to the breeder. And then ice. Ice is your friend. This stuff is going to make your job a lot easier when wanting to create water blocks. You can place it down and with an empty hand break it when you're in survival, and it will turn into a water source block. But let's get to building the actual breeder, and I'm building it off the ground just because this is creative. You guys are most likely going to have space underneath your breeder, but what you want to do is you want to find a center point and come up 3 blocks like so. From this guy here, you're going to want to build out in a diamond pattern like this, also 3 blocks out. And then you're going to want to come over here and build a diamond pattern 3 blocks out. So you're going to want to take your last pieces of glass and place them in these locations. You are then going to want to place a trapdoor here and open it. You're going to want to swing around to the other side and place a trapdoor and open it here as well. Place in a job block here, a job block here, and then now, temporarily, we will place a piece of glass here and here. Actually, this is just going to be better if we place one temporarily here. Trapdoor, 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 trapdoor. Villager breeder built. That's it. That's all it takes. You need to get your 2 villagers, your 2 breeding villagers set up in here, and then your babies will actually run off into these tubes. Now, I set this thing up in truly Bedrock with just 1 tube, and unfortunately 2 of my 15 villagers stayed inside the breeder, to which we had to eventually get them out. I built this thing off the ground because we are going to combine these 2 cells into 1 cell, if that makes sense. So we're going to do something like this. Something like this. And eventually have my villagers sat right here. That's what we want. Just a nice little tube. Now, it's probably going to be in my benefit to place in some a trapdoor right here as well, just to incentivize the villagers to fall down the hole. And that's that. Now it is time to grab our villagers that we have and get them up here. Now the way that I did this on the Truly Bedrock server is something very similar to this. We built a tube going up, like so. And we basically put in a water elevator going all the way up. We're not going to do all of that, but you guys will. The other way that you can do this, obviously, is staircase them up, but you want to get them out of the minecart. So you're going to want to build this like this, maybe even place something like this. And then probably do something like this. Also, I recommend putting a roof on this because you are going to be messing with water streams. And then get down in here. So when your villagers bubble up from the bottom, you're going to have a bubble source block right here. You're going to do this one at a time, moving villagers, and while the villager is sitting here, you're going to place a block underneath. You're then going to use your bucket of water to place a water source. That is going to push him straight into there. And then, of course, you're going to want to pick that water source block back up so that they don't drown. Down at the bottom here, wherever you're going to end up having your doorway, do not put a doorway in. Grab yourself a couple of signs and just place them like so. It's probably the easiest way. To do this, I placed in a door and I closed the area off. Again, this is something you're going to want to do, is build yourself a little area like so, where obviously you are going to have your villagers inside of a minecart, and you're going to wait till they grow up. Hopefully they just walk in like that and they go over to their new home, but one at a time, and chase them up to the top of the breeder. Now, it's just a recommendation to use something like netherrack to come up. It's a preference of mine, especially in the overworld, because it is a vibrant block that you don't see naturally generated or occurring. So we use that to move, or use as scaffold, because it's a very easy block to see. You can use anything that you want to make your tube, but I do recommend keeping a water bucket with you at all times, as well as some boats and minecarts. Now we have our villagers inside of the breeder here, and you'll see that these guys are just unprofessional villagers. So to get them to link with their profession blocks, we're going to need to set down a couple of beds. Again, patience and waiting, as these guys sometimes take a little bit to see that. Maybe the problem is, who knows? If they can't see their beds, then we can simply just place down more. And you can place them down anywhere. There we go. Now they're starting to link up. They should turn into farmers, and now your breeder is ready to go. Guess you're going to have the beds a little closer to them than I thought. So at this point, you should have a list, hopefully, of how many villagers you want, and that is going to dictate how many beds you are going to place down in this farm. I recommend at this level right here where we started building the tubes, because they can see it. And once you have all of the beds down, now it's time to incentivize the villagers to start making little babies. You can do that with anything. You can do it with beetroot, potatoes, carrots, or bread. You have to have one of those 4 items for villagers to breed. And a little bit of food goes a long way. I think I threw these guys 3 stacks of potatoes in Truly Bedrock, and they did make a bunch of babies. I would recommend also bringing these glass blocks up as a fully enclosed area, just in case babies get weird. But hopefully we'll start to see a baby. Oh, there is a baby in there. You can see him right there. He linked with that bed. And eventually they'll make their way down the tube. Now we did make a little change to the villager spawner here. I put the floor back in here so that they would actually come down this tube. And we're going to push these guys this way. They're going to fall down, and then they're going to come around and be pushed over to this corner here. This is what you want to do with your villagers so that you can remove them from this holding chamber when the time comes. So what we're going to eventually do here is come in and place down a water bucket right here. That is going to push these guys. Once we break this glass, and it's going to push them down, and they're all going to be coming over here. The same thing can be done here as well. Break that quickly so they don't pop out. And now we have a functioning system to where all of our villagers are over in this corner. This guy, of course, got stuck here, but when it does grow up, its head will hit the water, and it will be pushed around here. Same thing for this guy. So using this little trick right here with the 2 signs and water is a smart thing to do. And now what I would recommend doing is going to get yourself breakfast, cup of coffee, walk the dogs, feed the dogs, pet the cat. Whatever you got going on, it takes about 20 minutes for these guys to grow up, and we are going to want to have grown villagers before we start sending them over to the trading hall behind us. One final thing that I forgot to mention in the last clip is you do want to have only a 2-block tall gap when you have these villagers sitting in here. You do not want them to be doing what this last baby is doing and bouncing up and down. You want them to be kind of steady and getting pushed into this corner here. Now, we talked about you can breed as many villagers as you want. If you wanted 22 villagers, let's say you wanted 10 librarians, 10 masons, and you wanted a cleric and a cartographer, then you could breed 22 villagers, have 24 beds sitting here, and you can collect them all in this area. What I recommend doing, though, is if you are going to have 10 librarians, move the 10 over to where the trading hall is. It's that white block right now, first, before you move all of them. You can move all of them, that's not going to hurt anything, but when rolling their trades and stuff, it is going to become a little bit tricky, and we will be going through that very, very shortly. Now, to move these villagers over to the trading hall over there, you just need a few things. You need a dispenser, you need a button, you need, obviously, a bunch of rails, as well as some redstone torches. You're going to need minecarts, and you're going to need a solid block. Now, the minecart is going to depend on how many of these guys you want. If you want 10 librarians, you're going to pull 10 of them out and send them over there, and they will be sitting over there in their minecarts for a little while. Once you get done and put them into their respective locations, you can then break the minecarts and bring them back over here to collect the next round. What you want to do is place a dispenser in the ground like so, and if you're going to run your rail system, let's say this way, you're going to want to change this block for a solid block. If you're going to run your rail system like I am this way, then you're going to want to change this block to a solid block, like so. Break this block here in front of the dispenser, and then of course crouch, place a button, and then go ahead and place your minecarts in here. Now this stage is complete. The next stage, of course, is moving the villagers. It's a very simple setup. You just place down some powered rails and some regular rails. I go typically about 16 and then place down a powered rail, and you take them all the way over to that location. Yep. Now once you get this rail built, it's going to be pretty easy. You don't have to take this rail down for a little while. Something very nice to do. And 100 blocks isn't too far away, but it is far enough away. You may want to send one villager at a time, just to check and see if it makes it over here without any issues. Now, you do want to end your minecart rail, very similar to this. Just let it ride. for now. Place in all of your redstone torches to power your rails, otherwise your villagers, of course, will stop. And now all you have to do is come over here, press the button, it will grab a villager, and it will send it on its way. Now, like I said, I would recommend taking this final minecart that we have and just follow the villager on over here. Because once it gets to its final resting location, it's going to pop off the rails, and you're going to want to move it a little bit. And of course, you won't have to deal with farm animals like we are, but you just want to move it a little bit. You may want to get rid of anybody that could be pushing these minecarts around. We had some issues with cats in our base doing the same exact thing. And now it is a matter of rinsing and repeating. Simply come back over here, grab your next villager out of the system, and send him on his way. Of course, our next villager has not grown up yet, so we will have to wait for that, but we can send these guys over here. A little, it's not really a trick, but a thing with Minecraft is when we are loading and unloading chunks, and there are mobile minecarts on a rail, they will stop. So I recommend you run over here with each one of your villagers. It is just an easy trip for you to jump in a minecart and simply go back and forth. It's not going to take you much time. Plus, you get to have a little bit of a break in between messing with the villagers, and maybe you can relax just a little bit, right? Because it is a fun little thing that you're doing, and then you can break your minecart, and you can collect your next villager. Now, I do believe this will collect the babies as well, but you cannot roll the trades, nor can you trade with a baby. They do need to be an adult. So this guy is not wanting to cooperate, of course. So we can give this thing a little bit of an incentive. Hopefully by pushing him in the corner. There we go. And simply close this up, and we can send this on its way. Now, one thing that we're going to have here is this baby sitting at the end of the track. We are going to need to move it, otherwise the cleric that's coming across is going to just bounce off the minecart, and it's going to start bouncing back and forth, and we really, really don't want that. So now we have our villagers over here, we can actually take a look at building the trading hall, and a trading hall doesn't have to be anything in particular or in specific. It really just needs to be somewhere that you can set a villager for just to hang out for a while. Forever, more or less. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up little sections like so. Okay? And we're going to do 4 of those because those are the villagers that we have over here. And we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to go ahead and fill all of this in just to give it a nice little back. Again, this can be designed as and when you need it. The other thing I would recommend doing is going ahead and covering this. If you have this underground, you will be fine. If you have this in a building with a roof, you will be fine. Things to note about villagers outside is you do have to have a 4-block gap above their head and then a roof. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a roof. Obviously, with the new 1.17, we can put a lightning rod, and we can just scale this up somewhere over here by the villagers, and that will take the lightning strikes, effectively protecting these guys from getting struck and being turned into witches. So now that we have our villagers over here, and they are all adults, it is time to start rolling these guys' trades. Now this is something that can be very tricky, because you can set down a workstation. This guy right here will link to the workstation. You break the workstation, he links to it, you break it, and then he links to it. The other thing that I have seen happen is we roll this guy for all the trades. We get the trade that we like. We leave that workstation here. We place down another one, and this guy links to it, and then we break it. And then this guy links to the one we just broke. And then this guy is stuck linked to the one that's sitting here. So there is an easier way to do this. And you're going to need how many ever pistons and workstations of villagers that you're going to roll the trades. As we said in the previous clip, if you're going to have 10 librarians and then 10 masons, you're going to want 10 pistons, you're going to want 10 lecterns, and then of course 10 stonecutters. So nearby where your villagers are, you're just going to want to set yourself out all your pistons. Pretty simple. You're going to want to run a little redstone dust on top of them, and then you're going to want to do a little torch. And we should probably do this. Right. Once you have that done, you're going to place down a workstation. Now, none of these villagers actually should link to this workstation because we need a bed. And a trading hall is different than a breeder. For the breeder, we needed a bed per villager, but for the trading hall, we should only need one bed. Now, I've done this in my world over on Truly Bedrock, and this has worked. We'll see how it does here. So, we have our first librarian. It's got a Silk Touch book, but it has no other book trades. So, it'll trade books for an emerald. We can trade ink, and we can do the glass trade, which is nice. But let's say that's not what we're after. Just flip the lever, and you will see that this guy has re-rolled and now has a bookshelf, and then a Silk Touch trade. It also trades books. Okay, this guy right here, we want to keep. We can sell the books, or buy the bookshelves, we can break them and sell the books, and then if he sells Silk Touch, as well as name tags. So, for whatever villagers you're going to be working with, you're going to need some base items, right? In this case, some emeralds to trade with this guy. These guys are actually have... Yeah, trades right now, we will fix that. But you're going to want to trade at least one time with them. That locks the trade in. So once you have this done, you can simply set down another workstation. And now this guy has linked to that workstation. And we can roll through him and see that he has a protection trade. We don't like that. We can retract the pistons. It's going to take him a second, but he will relink. Has a respiration book, and you can just keep doing this. Smite 4, not bad. Fire aspect and fortune 2. Okay, we'll keep this guy. So this guy is going to need some paper. So you're going to have to do a little bit of groundwork to get your hands on some paper, to get your hands on some emeralds and things like that. But all you have to do is trade one time, and now this villager is locked in. Now we set down our third workstation, and this villager changes. And he's got an Infinity book and a Power 4 book. We like this trade, so we're going to lock it in. Now we set down this, and our last villager should be is a Piercing book, Frostwalker, Fire Protection, and now we can start rolling the trades. Sharpness 1, terrible. So essentially what this is doing is just moving the workstation. They are delinking and relinking from it, and this villager might be picking this workstation. This one might actually be picking the one that we put down. Either way, all 4 workstations are down, and we can sit here and roll the trades. And we can do this for all 10 villagers until we have all the trades that we want. Let's say bookshelf. Now this is locked in. We have all 4 of our villagers. So once you have all of your villagers, whether it's 4 or 10, you're going to want to break all of the workstations. Leave the pistons, because you're going to be bringing in more villagers. And now it is time to move these guys into their locations. Now all you're going to need for that is just some rails to move these villagers. You can place down a little bit of rail action. I recommend doing this. Leaving no rail here for the minecart to set in. And so all we have to do now is simply get a villager, push them on the rails, push them around, And you might have to give them a little nudge to make sure that they will go into their spot. And then you can break and place the rails in like so. We can even throw down an extra rail here. He's not... Yeah. Make sure that doesn't happen, but you can move these guys into their locations. And rinse and repeat. We can do something like this to get this last guy over here. And as you can see, our trading hall is starting to spawn in cats, which is perfect. Push him in, and then, of course, finally, the last villager. This guy came a little bit off the carts, but luckily, we can push mine carts around pretty decently. And he's in. So now you can delete all of your rails over here. We can, for now, temp these guys in with just a little bit of glass. And we can break the minecarts. You can go in like this and pick the minecarts back up. And then you can go back to your breeder and bring in new villagers. You do not want to put the workstations down just yet until you have the new villagers in, because they may link to one of these workstations. You just don't know. It's how villagers do their thing. Now, one thing that we kind of forgot to mention, and I should have mentioned it before we started rolling the trades, is emerald production, right? You're going to need some kind of stuff to trade with these villagers. You're either going to need emeralds or you're going to need paper. There are many different ways that you can go about it, right? You can find a wandering trader. I think this guy has some stuff. No. No, he doesn't have anything. Just kidding. No, you can build a raid farm, which requires a villager, and it requires a pillager outpost and things like that. That's an easy source of emeralds. Of course, you can just find a village and do some trading with the villagers that are in place. There are many different options when building a trading hall as well. You could do a farmer villager and trade potatoes and pumpkins and melons with them, or carrots, or wheat, and stuff like that. That is an option. We also have the option with the librarians of trading glass with them and turning it into glass panes and trading it with a cartographer. That's a neat little one. You're going to probably want a couple of cartographers or farmers, though, if you're going to put them in your trading hall and use that as your source for emerald income. That makes sense. The only other way to get emeralds, of course, would be finding an extreme hills biome and mining emeralds that way, but that's not a great way. When messing with librarians, obviously you're probably going to want some paper as well. Getting you a little bit of bone meal and stuff. And bone meal and some sugarcane should be pretty easy. When messing with like masons and things like them, you're going to want stones and stuff. You're going to want stuff to trade before rolling trades with these villagers. So with all of that out of the way, let's get to some of the last things that we've got going on here. Alright, so you got the last villagers over here, and you repeated the steps of rolling the trades. And so now it is time to delete all of the sticky pistons. Now, let's say your trading hall has 25 villagers or 22 villagers in it. You've got them all stuck in like this. The next thing to do is start grabbing your job blocks. Now, you're going to have masons and clerics and cartographers. So you're going to have brewing stands and, what is that workstation called? It's called a cartography table, as a matter of fact. And you're going to have grindstones. I said stone cutter, but it's a grindstone, I believe, for a mason. Or maybe it is a stone cutter. I don't know. Anyway, you're going to want to come out here in front of your villagers, and you're going to want to place down a workstation. You see that he linked to this, so you're going to place your workstation down over here because that guy linked to it. Place down your next one. He linked to it. So we're going to place it like so. Make sure that they link to it once you break it and move it. This guy linked, so we are going to come over here. Wait till he links to that, and then it should be this guy that links to the last one. Now you can break your glass blocks here, and this is your trading hall pretty much complete. If you want to save this off from zombie villagers, though, I highly recommend placing in some glass like so. Getting your hands on a couple of trapdoors. So you can kind of close them in. You don't have to do this part, but I would highly recommend it. And now these villagers are set for life. In a trading hall, these guys do not need to sleep, but they do need one bed. And you can trade with these guys to your heart's content. They will lock your trade out sometimes, and then you just have to wait till the next Minecraft day for it to unlock. That's never going to happen in this world. That doesn't move. But now you have yourself a nice trading hall. I would recommend also that, let's say this guy sells infinity, you get yourself some name tags. You type in infinity and you come over here and shift click this guy with the name of what their trades are, so that as you look at these villagers, you can say, oh, this guy is our punch guy, this guy is our smite guy, this guy is silk touch, and this guy has the bow trades. So by now, you should have a nice functioning trading hall, you should have a functioning villager breeder, and everything is going great. The last thing that we are going to work on is the Zombification Chamber. So before you break the breeder down, or maybe you're not, get yourself 4 more villagers over in this area. They are not going to need beds, they're not going to need workstations, they are just for the Zombification Chamber. Now, a couple of things to note. While I tear this down, that thing has been there forever. You can run each one of these villagers through a zombification process and cure them. They will get a discounted trade. These guys right now have no discounts on their trade, but we can easily fix that. If you run them all through the Zombification Chamber, they will have a discount price for a long time, or longer time. If you do what is a globalization or a proximity cure of villagers, then each one of these will get a slight discount, and you can keep doing that, and eventually these guys will have a very low trade for paper. I think I got my villagers down to 8 pieces of paper for an emerald, which is a relatively good price. I really don't recommend running each villager through. I did that in my trading hall, and the problem is a couple of things. Number one, when this villager turns into a zombie villager, it will pop out of the minecart, causing a little bit of problems. And then when you turn it back into a villager, if you put it back in a minecart, it will pop out of it again. So that makes it a little bit of a pain in the butt process. And honestly, you can set up a zombification chamber here in the middle of your trading hall, and when it comes time to actually trade with these guys, you can do a couple of cures, and then you're good to go. It's going to save you on golden apples in the future. Now, to build the zombification chamber, it is a relatively easy process, and it's not very material heavy. You are going to need a few things. You are going to need some rails and a minecart to capture a zombie. You're going to need 1 sticky piston. You're going to need 4 dispensers. You're going to need 5 redstone dust, 1 lever, 5 blocks, building blocks. It doesn't matter. They just have to be solid blocks, not glass. And you are going to need 1 piece of stained glass, or any glass, rather. I would also recommend getting yourself 5 name tags, so that you can name tag your zombie that you're going to put in this, as well as the 4 villagers that you are going to change into zombie villagers. I have a few other things in my inventory here. This stuff over here does not matter. We are going to spawn a zombie in. I recommend getting yourself a sword for that zombie. I put sharpness 5 on here because I think that'll help kill the villagers faster, and the faster that we can turn them into zombie villagers, the better. You are going to need some weakness arrows for these dispensers, and I'm going to show you how to brew weakness potions and get yourself these arrows of weakness. So you are going to actually need a couple stacks of arrows, which by now you should have those. You are also going to need a cauldron, just one, a brewing stand, some blaze powder to do the brewing, and of course some golden apples. So let's start off with building the actual Zombification Chamber. The first thing that you're going to want to do is place in 3 temporary blocks like so, sticky piston facing down like so, and we can delete these 3 blocks. Place in a dispenser facing down all the way around your sticky piston. Come above, and of course crouch place your 5 building blocks. Then place your 5 pieces of redstone dust, and then finally your lever. Last thing is the stained glass. Finally the lever, and then last thing this. Yeah. So this is the purification chamber / zombification chamber all done. You do need to block or break this block here because that is where you're going to be bringing your zombie. Now, a couple of things to note. Number 1. This zombie will burn in the sunlight, so having these 5 blocks here prevents any burning that might happen. Of course, in your world, you may be building this in a building or underground. You don't have to worry about it, but running the redstone like this is a double benefit. The other thing to note is in your settings here, which difficulty you're playing on. If you're playing on easy or normal, there is actually a chance that when a zombie bites a villager, it will kill it. So if you're running all of your villagers like these guys through a zombification chamber, you want to make sure that you're playing on hard mode. Hard mode will turn them into zombie villagers every time. Now, I built myself a little bit of a platform because we are going to be getting the zombie villagers, or I'm sorry, a zombie, over to this location. One thing that you want to make sure to do is while you're transporting this guy, of course, place in some blocks so they can't be burned by sunlight. And we got to get one that can hopefully pick up an item. You know, they're just not very smart. They see the villagers and they're going for it. So we're going to need to block these guys in, I guess, with something like this. This will just make our job that much easier, and hopefully this guy will pick up the sword. So we're going to throw this thing in here, see if he picks it up. We'll try to spawn a few zombies in here, and did that one pick it up? That one picked it up, and he's got a helmet on. So typically when a zombie is holding an item, they will not despawn. However, this is Bedrock that we're playing on, so there is potential. I would recommend name tagging this guy, which is why, of course, we had the name tags to begin with. Let's go ahead and get him in a minecart if we can. Of course, it's going to be a little bit tricky, but there we go. Nicely done. Now, with this guy having a helmet on, he's not going to burn in the sunlight, so we don't have to worry about that, but hey, that was just an added benefit. Zombies should be really, really easy for you guys to get in your world, and you just have to go get one and place them inside the hole, sitting inside the minecart. That is a key tactic here, and now we are pretty much good to go to start getting our villagers in here. One thing I would recommend, turning this thing on. It pushes the glass block into his face, and now he won't see your villagers, so you can start moving your villagers in here. Very similar to the trading hall, we are going to have little pods that the villagers will be sitting in. I like to use glass. You don't have to. This is just for me to see in here. You can do the same thing that we did whilst moving these guys by putting them in a minecart, rolling them into here, letting them come to a rest in this location, placing a block down, and then breaking the minecart. We're, of course, going to do something a little bit different by spawning these guys in with an egg.
Oh my goodness. Even in creative, villagers are such a pain. Why do you spawn outside the chamber, my friend? Don't know. But 4 villagers are now in. So if we were to turn this system on, he is going to pick a zombie or a villager at random, and he is going to convert these guys to zombie villagers. With your other 4 name tags, name these guys. If you happen to leave the area while these are in their zombie villager state, and you come back, they will despawn. So the next step for the zombification process is obviously we have to change these guys back into villagers by hitting them with the weakness potion and feeding them golden apples. Luckily, we can use arrows of weakness as opposed to splash potions of weakness. So, what you're going to need is a piece of sugar, a spider eye, and a brown mushroom. This will create for you a fermented spider eye. You are then going to need a brewing stand. Inside of this brewing stand, you're going to need to place a little bit of blaze powder. You're going to need to place in your water bottles, and the weakness potion is actually the only potion in Minecraft that does not require a piece of nether wart first, making this into an awkward potion. You can just put in a fermented spider eye, this thing will start to brew, and you will eventually have weakness potions, which is really, really nice. Now, while this is all going on, we can set a cauldron down next to the whole system. Potions should be brewed here very, very shortly. We have our 3 weakness potions and a stack of arrows. You dump your 3 weakness potions into the cauldron here. This thing should be full. And then you simply right-click on the cauldron to get yourself a stack of weakness arrows. Now, I would recommend you get yourself at least 2 stacks, which means you're going to need to brew up 2 sets of potions of weakness. Luckily for us, we're not using splash potions, and so we can get our bottles back as you saw when I was dumping my inventory. Once you have those arrows, come over to the dispensers and place a little bit, or a half a stack of arrows rather, inside this thing. And now you are set up and ready to go. The next thing for us to do is simply flick the lever. Grab our golden apples and start curing your villagers. Zombie villagers, rather. Now, a thing to note while this is going on. If you were bringing more villagers into this trading hall and you're curing these guys, the new villagers that don't have a profession assigned to them are not going to gain the benefits of this right here. They will just simply look like this once you get them a profession. So get all of your villagers into the trading hall first, and then start the zombification, curing, and turning them into zombie process. This right here works in a 33 by 33 circle, 34 blocks up and down. So you can place this thing in the middle of your trading hall. It's a nice little feature. You can build this up however you would like and turn it into something very, very nice. Other than that, we should be good. We are just simply waiting for these guys to turn so we can check out these trades. Now again, this does save in golden apples. It gives everybody a trade discount, and then we can go through and trade with our farmers or our cartographers or whatever we're getting our emeralds from, and then come over here and get the books that we need or the blocks that we may need. Now, normally speaking, this could take anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. As we saw, we have things they're all just being cured. Look at that, they're all cured. And that didn't take any time at all. We went from 24 paper to 19 for an emerald. We went from 9 emeralds to 4 for a bookshelf. This has a completely discounted price for infinity. The same thing with power. A nice price here for name tags. Very, very nice. There is one other way to get a discount from these guys. You would have to do a raid inside this quote-unquote village. Save them from the bad guys, the pillagers, and then they will give you discounted prices as well. The hero of the villager only lasts so long. One final note with the Zombification Chamber is, if you're going to leave this area, highly recommend you let these guys be turned into zombie villagers. Wait till it all happens and that sharpness sword is working really good for us. Now we can leave. We can go over here to the breeder. We can check on these villagers. We can take this thing down if we needed to. It's obviously produced a few more for us. It doesn't matter what we want to do. But anyway, this is pretty much the basics when it comes to villagers and some of the easiest ways that I have found to mess with them. Minecarts, boats, buckets of water, and these little tricks and specific steps to getting yourself a trading hall. This video might run a little long, but I wanted to compile all of that information into one video for you guys. Hopefully we can edit this thing nicely to where we can find the different chapters and things like that. This is all new to me, but we're going to give it a shot. And as always, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, please make sure to smash that like button. Leave a comment. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We do this, we do survival, let's plays, we do modded, we do all kinds of things, live streams, all of the above. Check the description down below. You guys should know the routine by now. There are all the different ways to follow me, including Twitter, Twitch, a link to my Discord, a link to Truly Bedrock Discord, a link to the Truly Bedrock website. It's all going to be down there. This isn't Truly Bedrock, but hey, that's what we're a part of, so we're going to leave the links in the description down below. The only thing that we're doing different this time is, I'm not putting anybody else's YouTube channel in the bottom. Huh? Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.